I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
if Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
Sega! That's right, we are talking Sonic the Hedgehog. Non-spoilers. We're doing it a little bit differently this time. Matt and I actually saw this movie separately, so this obviously is not riding with the marks, which is why you're getting the more classic Comic Movie Marks style video.
So Sonic the Hedgehog, for anybody out there, obviously is a video game character. I played the first two Sonic games on the Sega Genesis, and I played one of the 3D Sonic games later on, but other than that, my adventures with Sonic never really went that much farther. I have no idea how many games they're up to by now after 30 years, but when it came to the Sonic versus Mario war back in the day, I was definitely a Sonic guy.
Yeah, for me, I remember playing the same thing, two Sonic games tirelessly back in the day for the Sega Genesis, and then after it started getting into the Sega Dreamcast, I kind of faded away from that. I enjoy the character of Sonic himself more than Mario. I used to watch the cartoon, I believe it was The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I remember watching that as a kid, but aside from that, I was actually more into Mario.
So when it came to the Sonic movie, I was curious, how are you going to incorporate people and make this movie at all interesting? There is no people other than Dr. Robotnik, which apparently I found out is an American name. In Japanese, he is just called Eggman. Later on, they took the Dr. Robotnik name, apparently good old America, USA, because we couldn't just call a guy Eggman.
Yeah, of course, that's typical American style, changing it up. But a article recently from Business Insider, as recent as today, says Sonic the Hedgehog wins President's Day weekend box office. The article starts, Paramount finally has a box office winner, and it's thanks to a video game character and Jim Carrey wearing a silly mustache.
He wasn't wearing it, he grew that motherfucker, okay? That's legit, son.
Obviously, he pulled his best Henry Cavill and and grew a beautiful mustache.
Yo, girl, look at that mustache. Girl, look at that mustache.
The article talks about following duds like Gemini Man, Terminator Dark Fate, and most recently the Rhythm section. The studio is atop the domestic box office this President's Day weekend with Sonic the Hedgehog. With the $57 million opening, the $85 million budgeted Sonic has the best opening weekend ever for a video game adaptation, passing Warner Brothers' Pokemon Detective Pikachu, which had a $54.3 million opening back in May of 2019.
And now we're gonna get the Smash Brothers initiative.
I hope so, that would be fantastic.
Falcon Punch!
Who the fuck is this asshole?
Video game movies, as you could tell traditionally by the box office, don't really do that well. As an adult, PG movies aren't really necessarily my forte. I have no kids, unlike the co-host. Seeing PG movies aren't usually up on my criteria. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this for the most part. It's nothing special, didn't break any boundaries really at all, but they made a CGI hedgehog on Earth work actually fairly well.
I think a starting point of that was actually going back, and we've done a video on this before, but changing the character. The CGI character that they ultimately ended up with and rolled out the movie with was definitely the way to go. I was also...
Especially with that first line in the movie. Spoiler, the first line in the movie is like this handsome hedgehog that you see now in front of you, I'm Sonic or whatever. And if it would have been the old design and they had that line, that would have been a meme 100 times over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know whose brilliant idea it was to try to roll out this movie with a somewhat realistic looking hedgehog.
A man in a onesie. It was a man in a onesie for the most part.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like pretty much a little kid. As Matt touched on earlier, I was also curious how they were going to have a live action movie with Sonic. The cartoon, from what I remember, had its own characters kind of supporting, and obviously now we're trying to put Sonic in the real world for the most part. So I was curious how they were going to do that, and I thought they did a great job with it. The cast did well. I thought James Marsden was perfect. I think he's done this several times before in other movies.
And of course, the scene stealer himself, Jim Carrey, Is he actually Dr. Robotnik? Again, I only played the first 2 video games and one of the 3D video games, so Dr. Robotnik's personality wasn't really on emphasis in those games. It was more, side scroller, but Jim Carrey makes it his own for the most part. If there is a more detailed story about Dr. Robotnik, I seriously doubt he's like this, because this is Carrey. This is Jim Carrey at his most Jim Carrey, and it was hilarious. Everything he did was just so goddamn funny. He still got it, man. He should do an Ace Ventura 3, and he should do a Mask 2. He should just do the whole gambit again, just like Sylvester Stallone, and go back to all your old movies again, and just start doing all the sequels to him again, because I would love to see him back as Ace Ventura or The Mask or any of those again. Well, I guess he did go back to Dumb and Dumber, and that was meh. But there's still a chance. There's still a chance for a great Ace Ventura 3 out there after seeing this, because I don't know. It just made me laugh so much, everything he was doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. He added such a different level to this movie, and so one of my gripes of the movie is he does not really look like Dr. Robotnik, Dr. Egghead, Eggman, whatever you want to call him. He doesn't really look like it, and I remember the cartoon and kind of the personality of the cartoon, less hipster haircuts and more like overweight and bald and with like a giant orange mustache. Even in the movie, they decide just to stick to Dr. Robotnik as his name. I think maybe they reference him as Eggman once. That's kind of an Easter egg, no pun intended. But aside from that, that was really my only real gripe of this movie. I thought it was entertaining as hell. Some of the comedy in it, whether it was Jim Carrey himself or just some of the slapstick humor, I thought worked well for my sense of humor personally. It's a PG movie, but some stuff in it for adults, and then obviously for the little kiddos as well.
It's funny because there is some jokes that you could tell that Jim Carrey ad-libs. It totally catches a lot of people off guard. I remember there was a couple jokes I laughed at and like nobody else did. I just don't think they were paying attention to him enough, or they're not used to Carrey's style. When he was tracking down Sonic at one point, as you see in the trailers, only one in the freaking theater laughing at this joke about him being some kind of Indian tracker. And so it was a great joke. It was a great line. You could tell that's one of the moments where Jim Carrey just makes it his own. In summary, this movie is decent. I don't know if I would really rush to this theater to see it, because it's not like the theater really added anything to it. There's nothing special about the theater experience when it comes to this movie. You could probably wait for DVD, but it's just a fun PG movie, and for the most part, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. We touched on this in our live stream yesterday evening, but the Junkie XL score isn't huge standout. There are some little glimpses in there, but I do feel like he had to stick to more of a generic video game type feel. So if you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll go see this in the theater for Junkie XL, there's not much there in terms of his score. There are a couple glimpses. Again, there's a guitar riff, some drums, things like that make you feel like, okay, this is him. But aside from that, yeah, if you want maybe a cool family outing with the kids and you want to take them to the theater, this would definitely be a good movie to go see.
So with the score, it's a PG movie. Kids don't really care about music. They're too stupid to understand scores. But we're going to get into some post-credit scenes here and talk about a potential sequel. We're going to kind of dive a little bit into spoilers here if you haven't seen it. So maybe check out, that's pretty much the end of this review at this point. We're just going to go into the after-credit scenes now.
As if they mattered all that much. But as I touched on a little bit earlier, one of my biggest gripes with the movie, if I had to pick one, was the fact that Jim Carrey did not look like Dr. Robotnik / Egghead or whatever you want to call him. And in the first, I guess, pre-credit scene, you see Jim Carrey in the mushroom land, and now all of a sudden he's shaving his head. His mustache is a lot bigger. I want to say it's even orange from what I recall, and he's wearing the traditional Dr. Robotnik like bright red uniform that he had on at the end of the movie. Right there, I was like, okay, sweet. Number one, that tells me we're gonna get a sequel, which I was also hoping for as this movie kind of went along. I was hoping to see maybe one with Knuckles and one with Tails, and see how maybe they could be incorporated from the video game. I thought that part was fantastic.
Yeah, the after credit scene I thought was very interesting. He definitely personifies that look now. He just needs to get more of a gut. I was also thinking if that whole mushroom world was a jab at Mario the whole time. I don't know if that's actually some kind of lore in the Sonic world, but the fact that he kept talking about he didn't want to go to that mushroom world, he hates the mushroom world, it just kind of made me think of Mario all the time with the Mushroom Kingdom. And I was just really wondering if that was a jab at Mario at all. And then we have the second credit scene, or I guess this would be an actual post-credit scene that I walked out of before seeing, but thanks to YouTube and people uploading it, I was able to see. They show Tails in all of his glory too. It looks like he's hunting down Sonic, trying to find him, maybe to bring him back to their world and save their world from something. That's how I can kind of see the sequel going. Tails comes out, dual tail, and he starts flying. The sequel obviously is going to happen with this amazing opening that it had. Paramount is not gonna miss out on a possible sequel now, because I'm sure the merchandising alone on this movie too is through the roof as well. And it looks like Sonic is a gold mine when it comes to that video game IP after all.
Oh yeah, smash hits, and I'm hoping this does not turn out like the dreaded Power Rangers movie where they set up for an awesome sequel and then nothing happens. I think with the success, as Matt just mentioned, and what I mentioned earlier, it's now the highest video game movie adaptation opening, beating out Detective Pikachu. And I was really glad to see the fact that Tails was in this, because as the movie was progressing, I'm like, man, I really want to see some Tails, some Knuckles. Those are from what I remember from the video games. And the fact that Tails was on the screen, my 32-year-old dumbass was giddy with joy, where I'm like, yes, let's go. That was one of my favorite video games as a kid.
And that's what the sequel's going to be called, Sonic Let's Go.
Remember, there are no stupid questions, just stupid people.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
I don't even know what that means. We got to get it right. We didn't get it right. We're going to work on trying to get it right. So next time, we got to get it right. I'm embarrassed for my actions. I'm embarrassed for the league. Embarrassed for anyone on the same continent as me. We didn't get it right. We got to get it right next time. We're going to work on getting it right.